All right, good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Faye D'Souza. Sorry that we're a little late today, but we were just wrapping up our news recording. So we're here now and we're discussing what happened in Goa. Now, for those of you who don't know, let me give you a quick recap. On Sunday night, there were 4 men who dressed up and pretended to be cops. Okay, they went to the beach and they found some kids hanging out on the beach in Goa, as kids normally do. There were some boys and girls. They beat up the boys. They dragged the 2 minor girls away, 14-year-old girls, and they gang raped them. That question came up today on the House of the Assembly, on the floor of the Assembly House. And the Chief Minister of Goa, Mr. Sawant, responding to the question that was asked of him, basically said that it's the parents who need to introspect for letting their children stay on the beach that late at night. Said just because children don't listen, we cannot put the responsibility on government and the police. Now, I want to remind you that the Chief Minister of Goa, Mr. Sawant, also holds the home portfolio, which means he's also the Home Minister. What does that mean? It means the police report to him. He's the boss of the police. He's responsible for law and order and for keeping people safe in the state. Now, this has caused a lot of uproar from people across the country, from the opposition within Goa, but we really want to know what the people of Goa think. He's also said, let me quote the rest of his statement. He said, we directly blame the police, but I want to point out that of the 10 youth who went to the beach for a party, 4 stayed on the beach the whole night and the remaining 6 went home. So he was basically blaming the victims and their parents for such a terrible crime. Now, couple of things that we need to look at. Whose job is it to keep the beaches safe? Whose job is it to keep the beaches well lit? Whose job is it to make sure that people aren't dressing up like policemen and threatening and harassing and committing crimes against ordinary citizens? Whose job is all of that, Mr. Sawant? I wonder if Mr. Sawant knows. To help us answer all of these questions right now, we have Brinda, Adige and Rajna Kumari, both activists for women's rights and women's safety and crime against women. They have been working in this field for decades and decades, and I'm an admirer of both of them. We also have Shruti Chaturvedi and Suman Bhatt. Shruti is the founder of Chai Pani. She's an entrepreneur who's lived in Goa for 3 years now. Suman Bhatt is also an entrepreneur who's lived in Goa her entire life. So they bring in the local point of view as well. They've also both been very active during the entire COVID period. And so they have a wider perspective to give us. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. It always makes me really happy when we have an all-women's panel. That's always something nice to see. Now, before we go to the statements of the Chief Minister directly, I want to first bring in Suman Bhatt as a true blue Goan who's born and brought up and raised and now works and lives in Goa. Suman, has there been a change in the crime rates? As a Goan, do you feel things are safer, worse, that there's laxity on the beaches, there's more crime? Could you give us a sense of how Goa has changed over the last few years?
I mean, Faye, speaking on behalf of all Goans, and I hope so, it's you can only say things change over time. You can't say they stay the same. There will be some sort of, change in a certain safety measure, in like a safety sector or the crime sector or whatever it is. You can't turn around and say everything is the same as it was 10 years ago. The question I feel should be, if we are so aware that the crime rate is increasing, what are we doing to stop that or, curb that? You can't turn around and say that Goa is not the same as it was a few, years ago, or blame the circumstances in which crime has escalated. It turns around to kind of being not very, let's say, a practical way of looking at something like this, where at the end of the day, the predators and the person who committed the crime are at fault.
Shruti, do you agree? Do you see that the government in Goa right now just palming off the blame? And there is, of course, a larger impact on the women of Goa when you hear statements like this. It basically means don't step out of your house because you are responsible for your own safety.
No, absolutely, and I agree to what Suman said, and the statement that the Chief Minister has recently made. आप नहीं बोलते तो चलता, मतलब it could have been ignored. Like, when you were making this whole speech in the assembly, this statement is either intentional, because he knows the kind of vote bank he peddles to, he caters to, or it was a slip of tongue. या तो आपको नहीं बोलना चाहिए था, and being like a CM of a state or a home minister of a state, like, it's best avoided. In the kind of damage this has, like, imagine how many parents are going to stop their girls from stepping out now, or how many parents are going to stop their children to go to Goa for that one vacation जो दिल चाहता है वाला आपको vacation मनाना होता है. How many parents are going to stop that? Because at the end of it we know कि हाँ मतलब घूम फिर के so it's so I mean, and these kind of statements coming from the head of the state, they do way more damage to the entire movement that so many women have been carrying for so long.
And I'll come back to the two of you, but I want to bring in Dr. Ranjana Kumari. We actually, Ranjana ji and I talk every time there's a politician in India who says something really dumb. Here we are again, Ranjana ji, another politician who says something completely unexcusable.
Yes, absolutely. You remember when Sheila Dikshit made that statement that, middle of the night, what Soumya was doing on Basant Kunj Road in Delhi. And then she, of course, was killed and murdered. But, this is something where Goa Chief Minister, and what I hear from Goa and friends in Goa and people who are visiting Goa, there's a breakdown of law and order in Goa. This is what is happening at the moment. So what he's trying to do is to cover his failures by blaming the girls and parents. This is nothing new. This is nothing new that you say, so cage all the girls. That's what is the solution. Does he think that in a democratic country where there's law and order, there is a responsibility of the government to protect the citizens? Should he put the blame on the girls and the parents of all the people? I mean, doesn't he know that during COVID 1.5 years, children have been at home, confined, they're not able to go anywhere? If are the girls not allowed to party? Are they not allowed to go out and, entertain themselves? Are they not? So why, instead of saying that, okay, we will streamline the law and order, instead of saying that we will have the beaches, as you rightly said, well lit, we will ensure that every citizen of Goa is safe. And we will do everything possible to keep our girls safe, and they can be free to, people from all over the country go to Goa. So what message are you giving to the parents? Just 2, 3, 4 friends get together, girls, and they go to Goa to enjoy, to have some fun, to be able to get some space next to the beach, to dance, to do whatever they want to do. I mean, after all, it's a life. And we can't be, and especially during this period, I consider it to be a crime to say that, keep your girls under control. This is what his message is. It's a crime because boys are not under control and the criminals are at large, and you don't want to control the criminals. You don't want to control all these boys and men who are attacking women. And what you are doing ultimately is to control the women. So this is the most regressive, obnoxious statement, and politicians have become used to it, So I think even parents should get together and respond to him that this is absolutely unacceptable. Parents, how much can parents do? Should they go everywhere with the girls? Should they keep an eye on the girls, or they cage the girls? They should not let them go anywhere. Girls have no life in this country. They cannot have any freedom. They cannot enjoy. They cannot go to the beach. They can't party whole night. They must be at home. Why? So, this is something which I think he must apologize to women of India, not only Goa, because this will impact everyone. All the girls who travel to Goa, the parents are now going to say that, look, there is no law and order in Goa. There are, criminals at large. You will be attacked and raped. So right. No program for Goa.
Let me just bring in Brinda. Adige, Brinda, this, while this is victim shaming, it is pinning the blame on parents. Our law is very clear about the fact that policing is not just about nabbing the criminals. Policing is also about preventing crime. There seems to be a clear abdication of that duty. The fact that it's the police's job to keep the beaches safe. It's the police's job to make sure there's proper lighting, there's CCTV camera. I mean, the fact that these accused were walking around dressed like policemen shows a complete disregard for law and order to begin with.
Absolutely right, Faye. The Chief Minister, by making that kind of an irresponsible, chauvinistic, misogynistic, sexist, irresponsible statement, absolved himself and the state missionary of any responsibility. He has absolved all of them to say, don't worry, you are not accountable for what happened over there. If those culprits, those perpetrators dress themselves up like police, they have been patrolling the beaches and they know that there is no police. So it is not a one-day story. It is something that has happened over a period of time, and they know that they are not going to get caught because there is no patrolling. And like you mentioned, there are no lights over there, no lighting. There is nothing that would extend that feeling of safety or protection, not probably only for girls, but also for boys, because the boys who were there with them were also beaten up. So the ones who posed over there and the perpetrators who raped those girls know very well that there is no state agencies, no police, no anybody who is going to pull them up. Now, if this is the statement that the chief minister is saying, we will not be there, but we will take our salaries, and you dare not ask questions to me. Why are you sitting there? Step down, because you don't know what your responsibilities are. You don't know what your job is. You want to take a salary, but do not want to do a job. And then you want to blame the children and the parents. So why are you there? Are you not an elected representative who is supposed to be looking after the protection, safety, and everything else that people pay the taxes for? When you make those kind of statements inside the house, when a question has been raised, what are you trying to say? Citizens who elected you into power are slaves? And you can sit there and make all of these high-handed statements, putting the blame on children and the parents, and nobody is going to ask you and challenge you about this kind of an attitude? What are you trying to say? That Goa, which is a tourist place, is not safe like the rest of India? And the first question that I want to answer to you, Faye,
Yes,
you asked the question, has Goa become unsafe? Yes, Goa has become unsafe, because earlier it was considered a place that you could go and party through the night and you're safe. But over the last couple of years, that feeling has gone away. Okay, rest of India, anyway, it's gone. But Goa has gone, literally gone. So you are not going to have tourists also who are going to feel safe. Women are not safe.
I just want to, and I know Suman wants to come in. Suman, here's a question for you. Benaulim beach is not a deserted beach. It's a very popular beach. Zuri White Sands is on that beach. The Mahindra, resort is on that beach. There are many resorts. There is a fishing village. It's not some deserted part of, of Goa that's not normally used. So, do you feel like there's something that's missing here in terms of, and this is the first time the police's attention has been brought to this problem on the beaches?
I'm pretty sure it's not the first time. That's number one. Number two is I'd like to get back to the point of comparing Goa as to how safe it was a few years ago. Like I said right from the beginning, if you like imagine the whole of India now, like she said, everything is not as safe as it was. Yes, we know that. But our chief minister had the assembly floor where he could have taken responsibility for what happened. Instead, he chose to say something like, but the girls should not have been out at that hour. Did he for once think that the right thing to say is, hey, I stand up and I want to be elected as governor. I'm part of the government. I'm the leader of the government. It is my responsibility to make sure that crimes don't happen. And okay, if statistics and data are telling you that crime is on the rise, when you stood up to be part of the government, I'm sure you were made aware of all of these things, right? So instead of at any given point of time blaming the victim or the victim's parents, did you ever say, any crime that takes place in my state, I will make damn sure that the harshest punishment is laid out? So instead of people thinking they have the let's use the word guts to kind of dress up as a cop and head onto the beach and rape two minor girls, do you not see anything wrong in that? Where is the line between me feeling safe as a girl and a man feeling entitled enough to dress up as part of law and order and raping me? It's bizarre. And the second thing is that, every politician ends up saying some, like you said, makes a rubbish statement at the end of these of these incidents, these violent attacks. And if I, as a woman, have to think 10 times about what I'm going to wear when I step out of the house, I want my elected leaders to think 10 times before they say these stupid things. You can't, you want the parents to think, oh, what are my girls, why are my girls out? You want me to think, what am I going to wear? You want everybody to do their own part in this thinking issue. But you don't want to think before you say something so ridiculous and that too on the assembly floor, where you could have taken responsibility, assured the victim's family that action would be taken, that the criminals would be caught. Instead of that, just because you want to make it seem like, hey, no, it's not my responsibility, I don't need to, you can't blame me for every incident that happens here. So don't, let's point the finger at somebody somebody else. I mean, it's ridiculous.
In fact, the thing that struck me, ladies, when I read that statement that the Chief Minister had made, was the mental health impact that will have on the family and those two girls.
So they have to worry for the rest of their lives. Was it my fault?
Yeah, I mean, they don't even have to wonder anymore. They've been told by the highest office of their state that it was their fault, that they asked for it in some way. All of the things that you are not supposed to tell someone who's been through a traumatic experience, that is exactly what he went out and said. So this is the message now, not just for these 14-year-old children, that it was their fault in some way, and for all of their classmates, and for all of their parents, and for the parents of the rest of the girls in the state of Goa and across the country. It's disgusting. It makes my stomach turn to think that we still haven't reached a point where we understand, what survivors of rape need in this country. Shruti Chaturvedi, as a woman who continues to live and work in Goa, how does this make you feel?
I was hearing everybody else. So about Goa, मैंने 3 साल में जितना देखा है, one, politics here can get really petty. Because जितना छोटा, number one, Goa is a very small state, right? Like crime is very easily manageable over here, right? So that's not an excuse anymore that we don't have the resources or we don't have the bandwidth. If you have the right intent, you could have done that. After, I think, a chief minister makes a statement like this, of course it makes you think that, okay, is he trying to say this because he knows the people who follow him like to hear it? And after I posted this tweet, and there are still replies of men to the tweet saying, हाँ वो जो बोल रहे हैं उसमें गलत क्या है? So it's clearly that they know who they are catering to और वो किसको बोलने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. As a chief minister and a home minister, I think it's very important that he realizes you want to be misogynist, be at home, be a closeted misogynist, not my concern. But as a head of the state, stop at some point behaving like an RSS karyakarta. Like that needs to go out of you. You have a assembly floor. You have certain responsibilities. You, like Suman said, he could have taken that opportunity to inspire. मतलब भक्ति actually में है यहाँ पे, पूरे देश में है. जब आपको पता है कि इतना लोग आपको blindly follow करते हैं, then why not say the right things to them? Like why not take them towards a better progressive path with your words? And it's not about action, right? Like they can't justify by saying कि हमने चारों accused को arrest कर लिया, उसके बाद ऐसा statement दिया. These are two very different things. And the kind of example that you've set for everybody over here, and the kind of confidence men would have got after hearing something like this, that okay, like at the end of it, चलो 4 लोगों को arrest किया, but घूम फिर के सब कुछ है तो हमारे support में. And like you rightly said, the impact it would have on the women, the girls who've gone through that, like the entire life, they'll be just under this assumption कि हाँ मतलब कौन से activist ने आके हमको बचा लिया, मतलब जो हुआ, and like we have.
So that's a really important point, because आपके हिसाब से this sends a message to all of the men who are listening. If there is a girl outside the house late at night, then she's free game. Then you can do what you want. आप कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि बाहर क्यों है?
बिल्कुल. Yeah, I think, Faye, there is a very serious issue here, because if this continues, the blaming of the victim, blaming of the girls who've been raped, what you do is indirectly, subconsciously, you're justifying it. You justify it and let the men know that fine, it's okay. Those 2 girls what were they doing in the middle of the night at the beach? And so that means that they were wrong. They were not responsible. I mean, they were responsible for what happened to them. Not the rapists were not responsible. And secondly, his failure is that as a police, if these 2 or 4 or whatever men wear the police dress and walk in there and beat up their boyfriends or friends or classmates and then get these 2 girls. So he's a home minister. He's a home minister. How is it possible in a state as small? And I think this argument is brilliant. That's a state which can be managed and which has been managed very well in terms of crime rates and everything else, because people go there, they spend their holidays very freely in Goa. And now the messaging is that, look, take responsibility of being around. Your parents should be responsible. That's worse, because parents are in any case very controlling. So that's the second damage that you are doing. You are telling the parents that what your girls were doing middle of the night on the beach. Now, so you are indirectly also sending that very conservative, feudalistic message that girls needs to be controlled by the parents. What is this nonsense? I mean, what are you trying to reinforce in Indian society now, when girls are becoming, smarter, they are becoming more intelligent, they are trying to define their own lives, they are taking decisions about themselves. You are trying to tell the parents, and parents now control them. Don't. So this is doing more damage. Instead of controlling the law and order and protecting every citizen of your state, you are even creating subconsciously a kind of culture in society where girls must be under control. 40 years we have fought, and more than that. Equality.
I find really interesting is that this sort of nonsensical, misogynistic, insensitive statements always come up when it comes to crime against women or rape, right? It's not like tomorrow if 4 people dressed up like cops and went around the beaches robbing people at knife point or stabbing people in the stomach. The Chief Minister of Goa would not turn around and say, "Aap batwa leke kyun gaye the bahar raat?"
Right.
Why did you show up with your stomach and no iron armor on it? Why were you out at night? Obviously, someone will stab you with a knife. Obviously, someone will shoot you. Obviously, someone will rob you. Why is it only crime against women where these government representatives feel completely happy to wash their hands of all responsibility? They wouldn't do it with any other crime.
Because I feel like, I'm sorry. Do you wanna...
Please go on.
I think it's very important. The reason why this happens, I feel personally, is that it's very important today more than ever for that conversation to shift. I think the conversation has to be about the person who committed the crime rather than the victim, the whys, the which, the when. The scary part is if you read any of the the tweets, most of the comments say things like, but what's so wrong about what he said? It is really scary. Goa has changed. When will that change? When will that conversation change? The safety of my state or the rest of India or anything on that's not my topic of concern. My concern is, if I do go out, I might feel super safe with my friends or wherever, but I am never going to think that I'm invincible. Yes, if a crime is committed against me, at no point of time do I want to be blamed as the victim. I don't want to be told that I should not have been in this place. I do not want to be told that I was wearing the wrong clothes. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to listen to that continuously. And I think the reason why the focus is so much on that, is because immediately when there is a crime against a woman, the conversation is hardly ever about the guy who committed the crime. It's about the girl. Why was she out so late? Why was she traveling so late? What was she wearing? Was she drinking? Was she on a date? Was she, it's bizarre. Why aren't we talking about why were those boys on that beach? Why did they think it was so easy to dress up as a cop and get away with it? What was in their mind at that point of time to think that the law and order in the state is so poor that I can actually dress up as a cop, just carry a danda, walk up to a group of people, and they'll let me approach them because I'm dressed as a cop. I mean, and then and get away with whatever I want to get away with, because the beach is so poorly lit. There's no patrolling. I'm very aware of the fact that if I do this and commit this horrific act, that I'll get away scot-free. What is going? Are we telling our boys, I guess, if I could say, or when they step out, don't ever raise your hand on a girl instead of telling the girl, don't wear those shorts, or don't wear that bikini, or don't wear that dress. It really doesn't make, unless the conversation shifts, we are going to be in the same position over and over again for the rest of time.
I have people on our chat window right now saying things like, ma'am, you are dragging things out of context. And the Chief Minister is right. How can parents be so careless? And we'll answer all of those questions as well. But I just want to point out the reason why I read out the names of the 5-star resorts that are on this beach, this stretch of beach at which this crime took place, is because the Chief Minister's statement is completely bad for business. Goa is entirely dependent on tourism. Tomorrow, if I go stay, and I'm reading these names out because I want these brands to question the Chief Minister, saying, what the hell are you doing to our business? Zuri White Sands Goa Resort and Casino, Club Mahindra Emerald Palms. These are 5-star places. There's the Serenity Residence by Origami Collection. There's a Carvela Beach Resort. There's the, and there are many others. There's a Lotus Eco Beach Resort. All of these. Tomorrow, if a guest stays in this resort and decides to go out for a walk after dinner, are you saying that she's free game now? If there's a family staying at this resort and their teenagers decide to go out to the beach after dinner, are you saying that they can be raped now in Goa and they're no longer safe on the beach? Is that the message the Chief Minister of Goa is giving to the tourists, to the businesses, to the foreigners who visit with all their wonderful dollars that keeps the economy ticking? Let's be real about how we do business in this country. Let's be real about how many people come to Goa every year and why they come to Goa. Because it's not Delhi. Because you can actually go to a party. If it was the same as Delhi, then people would stay in Delhi. Why would anybody bother with this? Brinda Adige has spent a lot of time coaching people in corporate India on how they should verbally respond to various situations. Brinda, based on everything you have learned and taught, how far out of reality is the Goa Chief Minister right now in terms of business, in terms of communication, in terms of making people feel safe?
I think we are very, very far, Faye. And the question that you asked, you hit the nail. What are these corporate businesses doing? Goa is a place that gets much of its revenue from tourism. Why have they not questioned the Chief Minister? Now, the next question we also want to ask is, are we saying that the Chief Minister is so powerful that he's actually going to tell all of the corporate people, you can shut shop and go. We'll manage. We don't need you there. Is that what the Chief Minister is trying to say? Because right now we haven't heard a whisper from any of them. If, like you mentioned and the other panelists mentioned over there, many people are asking what's wrong in what the Goa CM made that statement. Everything is wrong. Absolute retrograde thinking. Everything is wrong. When you use my taxes and say that it is being used for the protection of women and girls. The Goa Chief Minister was not elected only by men. He was elected by women also. Safety, public places don't belong to just one group of people, the men, the powerful. Those places belong to both men, women, and anybody else who chooses to use that public place. Now, the Goa Chief Minister, if he's going to wash off his hands from his responsibilities, then not only the corporate, but the citizens also must raise their voice and ask these questions. But it's important for the corporate to start asking questions from a professional point of view. What is this message you're giving to people who are coming here? Why is it that India is termed as the 4th most unsafe place for women in the world? Why would you make this kind of a statement? And why would a chief minister, an elected representative, reiterate something like this? You want to say that it is not so. India, Goa, all the other places are being made safer every day. If the chief minister continues to make this kind of a statement, he's only increasing impunity. And impunity that is being actually encouraged by state agencies like the police because they're not doing their job and they're not being pulled up. for not doing their job. Absolutely unacceptable that you hold parents responsible, and you are actually saying right just now after the COVID lockdown, when people are trying to earn some money, that you make a statement like this saying, we don't care about tourism, we don't care about safety.
And I want to just examine what he has said. He said, when 14-year-olds stay on the beach the whole night, parents need to introspect. So what if these girls were 18? Would that have been different? Would it have been somebody else's fault? If they were 25, would it have been somebody else's fault? If they were 40, would that, what is the age got to do with it? The fact that they were dragged into a dark corner and raped by 4 men, the fact that they were 14 makes, it's a heinous, terrible crime. But that's no excuse for you to ride on.
And the person who needs to introspect at this point is the Chief Minister himself. कि आप सबसे पहले आके लड़कियों को blame कर रहे हो, बच्चों को blame कर रहे हो, उनके parents को blame कर रहे हो. And I don't know if you've seen the assembly conversation. He was asked about the crime and what action the government is taking. आपसे किसी ने सलाह भी नहीं मांगी. Like nobody told you to give a moral lecture on whose job is what. The only question was asked was, what are you doing about it? And, Goa, again, like being a very small state, it's like a pilot project. Like you can make this state into something so amazing and show it to the entire country that this is how a state is run. This is how you can make a state so safe, and like so many people can learn out of it. And at a time like that, and abhi, jaise hum baat kar rahe the ki abhi, the conversation is about everything but the crime. Now, if you will see, like inside the Goa charter rooms, the conversations become about outsiders and insiders again. Like that's the best when they are going to, they'll move the conversation into that, because they know that, okay, the only way that works in Goa is blame it on the outsiders. Any crime happens, blame it on the outsiders. Make the conversation about that, ताकि पूरा responsibility का ठेका लड़कियों पर चला जाए, बाहर वालों पे चला जाए, जिसका actually में responsibility है, like don't question them, just divert the topic.
The scariest question you can ask any government official, I think, is what are you doing? What are you going to do? They don't know the answers to these simple questions. They immediately when you ask a elected representative, what are you going to do about this? They will deflect into like whose fault it was, what time of day, what age the girl. And this is specifically not only to do with this crime. It's basically a blanket way of dealing with a what are you doing question. Like Shruti said, I mean, it's what irks me the most is the reach he has. The fact that you're getting comments on your page right now that say, but what did he say wrong? Or, parents are also responsible. Imagine having that kind of reach to a state of 18 lakh people. Imagine that kind of power you have. You can literally turn around and say, I am going to do A, B, C, D and make this state safer. Instead, you have chosen to turn around and say that the parents of 14-year-old girls should not have allowed them to be out, or what were they doing. Instead, now a majority of the parents who kind of blindly follow their leader will turn and say, बेटा तुम घर पे ही बैठो बस इन्होंने बोल दिया अभी कुछ भी होगा आपकी गलती होगी हमको मत बताना फिर. Does that make any sense in running do you run a democracy or any sort of state in that way? State, country, whatever it may be. You can't turn around and blame the parents or the girls or any of that when somebody asks you, what are you doing? What are you doing? Simple, he could have, even if he really didn't want to do it, he could have turned around and said something like, I'll increase police patrolling. Finished. End of conversation. Or I'll put some more street lamps there. That's it. Nobody asked for anything more.
No, but and this is interesting.
I think there is more serious. Ranjana ji,
I was just going to ask you this. We have beaches in Mumbai, we have beaches in Visakhapatnam, we have beaches all through Kerala, we have beaches in Chennai, we have beaches through through Andhra, to Orissa. All various cities have different types of policing in order to keep their beaches safe. We can learn from each other. There are all-terrain vehicles that are used. There are different types of routes that are used to actually patrol and police and make sure that the beaches are safe. Goa should not, because the beaches are so important to Goa's economy, should be taking this super seriously at this point in terms of lighting all of those dark corners, in terms of putting more cops on the beaches at night just to make sure that everybody feels safe, to boost the economy, given the beating it has taken over the last 2 years because of COVID. This is unbelievable, it's an unbelievably myopic statement from a government of a state that is so dependent on tourism, Rajnaji. This just shows that at the end of the day, we're not really thinking things through right now in this country.
Yes, I think there is a deeper, problematic in what the Chief Minister said, and that means that he has absolutely no design in his mind looking at, because globally the beaches are for entertainment and beaches are for attracting tourists globally. Whichever country you may go, people go there to relax, people go there to have fun, they go there to communicate with each other or connect with each other. So countries with beaches in fact benefit a lot because people feel free there and people feel safe there. These are the two basic conditions when you are managing and monitoring a beach. So when you are not taking responsibility and not telling the people of your state or people of the country the design you have in mind to do things to make the beach more safe, instead you've deflected from that. In fact, you're blaming the parents of the girls who are minors, their children. 14-year-old children, you are blaming them for having fun there or being there. So you don't have any design. You don't know how to police a beach. You don't know what kind of infrastructure you must develop for the beach. You don't know any kind of sense of state presence at the beach so that people feel, here are the people, and no nonsense will be tolerated. No crime will be allowed. There is absolutely these are statements when you make, then it makes a lot of sense because it travels down to your bureaucracy, it travels down to your police, it travels down to every person who is responsible for creating the conditions of safety. They all understand that, look, this will not be tolerated. That, 4 men can wear police dress and can go and rape 2 children. So this is something which he's missing the point completely. So in a way, he is not only that shown the total insensitivity in making whatever sexist, misogynist, whatever you want to call it, a very, very irresponsible statement. On the other side, he's not giving an answer. He's not telling the people who come to Goa and people who live in Goa that, look, this is what I'm going to do to make the state very, very safe, because Goa is not just a state of India. Goa is on an international map for tourism. Goa has people who come from all over. People are living in Goa who are from all over the world. So how can you really be that irresponsible as a chief minister of a state? And I think the minimum he can do is now to apologize for what he said, and also to tell the people and the country that, look, this is what I'm going to do to save businesses. You raised a very good point, Faye, that, after all, you have allowed all these beach resorts and beaches given to different people. There are French beach, there is this beach, that beach. So why have you done that? Because you want people to come and, experience that. You want to have people, get some fresh air in this COVID period. Children are going for fresh air there, not to get raped. And then when they get raped, this is you whose responsibility, your police responsibility, is your state, and you are a home minister of a state, you are responsible. So please, he's done enough damage in the line of so many politicians who do damage to women's equality and rights issues. So many years they have been doing. Please stop doing it. To all politicians, that is our, kind of ask and appeal. And secondly, Goa Chief Minister should tell what is he going to do about it. Should all parents come and guard their daughters there? What is this?
I want to just leave this here, but Kunjan has said that we need more educated young women in politics. Women like Shruti and Suman, for example, need to be leading Goa.
I welcome them too. I vote for them.
So Faye, when you brought this up about politics, okay, I'll give you a personal instance and I'll tell you that this is not this one statement. This is how the mentality is of this current government in Goa. COVID ke time pe jab hum kaam kar rahe the, an army of trolls was unleashed. 60 people were full-time put to harass us online. Online, ठीक है, मेरे घर पे 4 गुंडे भेजे गए by faking an oxygen concentrator ka requirement just to find the address of my house. And you usually just trust in a time of distress. I would just give my address and I'm like, yeah, okay, come and collect it from here. I don't know if I should say this online. These are people who are sponsored and supported by the government. Police was given instruction that if a complaint comes from this girl, note it down but don't investigate, because Sir is not happy with her. I've even tweeted about this. Sir is not happy about her. Imagine what a girl feels staying in your state who's come here to do business. I am setting up my business here. I've completely moved my business here. I've hired people in Goa. And you make a statement like that for what? Because we are doing work that you are not doing. So this mentality is prevalent. It's just that today it just came out in the open. That's how petty the politics, and that's the reason why so many women don't get into politics, because this is how they stoop. Like, this is how low they hurt you, because they think this is the best way to hurt you, by making you unsafe. So as a citizen, imagine when you know that the home minister, the police is not on your side in a state you are living in because somebody is not happy with you. That's how the state has become now. And the worst part is they're going to get away with it. They are going to get away with it without any consequences. 5 debates होंगे, news cycle में 2-3 दिन तक चलेगा, उसके बाद कुछ नहीं होगा. They're just going to get away with it.
Well, I really hope that the businesses in Goa demand better from the government, because their future hinges on this. When people now choose to make that one precious holiday and they choose where they want to go, if they're going to choose Goa, I will choose Goa if I feel that I'm going to be safe in Goa. If I feel that I'm not going to be safe in Goa, I won't go there, I'll go somewhere else. And that, at the end of the day, is so important to the state's economy. At the end of the day, I also believe that many of our politicians don't understand a fundamental difference. Women are not asking to be protected. We don't want to be protected by you. We're asking for safety. There is a difference there. Safety means you sanitize the beaches, the roads, the public places, so that I can walk down the street just the same as any other man. And there is no difference in the way the two of us are treated. That is safety. Protection is when you lock something up. We don't want protection. We want to be treated as equal citizens with the dignity of equal citizens. We do not want to be your sisters, mothers, daughters. Hum aapki beti nahi hai. We're not your betis. Do not thopo your moral policing and your parenting lecture on us. Give us room. Take your boots off our necks so that we can go to work, so that we can be the same as our male counterparts. That is your job. There's not a preference. It doesn't depend on where or how you feel morally about women going out, going to party, going to work. Doesn't matter. Your feelings are immaterial here. It is your job as the Home Minister and the Chief Minister of a state to make the state safe for all girls and women, the ones who live there, the ones who may or may not agree with you, the ones who visit from outside, for everybody. That is the job. And if you have simply misunderstood your job, then sorry, boss, maybe you should be finding something better to do. I'm going to leave it there. I want to thank my panelists for joining me this evening and for not mincing words at all. Hopefully, there will be greater accountability for the Chief Minister of Goa, because he's responsible for law and order. And with great power comes great responsibility.